Democratic strategist Jonathan Harris and Republican strategist Timothy Allen Simon. Thank you both for making time to be here again. Jonathan, I want to ask you just a personal question. I know you can't speak for the entire party, but how are you feeling as a Harris supporter 10 days out?
Like my last name or Kamala Harris?
Like the vice president. But I'm sure your family appreciated that shout out.
Right. No, look, I think the campaign is on fire. I think they're doing fantastic. I mean, I've always thought that you can read these polls one of two ways. The fact that they're neck and neck could be, it's disturbing that a convicted felon is polling neck and neck with a successful senator, successful vice president. Or you could look at it the other way, that they are making a compelling message that is compelling half of the electorate to support their campaign. I think she's doing very well. I think she's done a very good job. She had a very hard task in front of her. She didn't have to just do what Donald Trump is doing, which is Donald Trump's been running for president for 4 years. At the very least, not to mention when he ran for president before, she had to sort of introduce herself to the American people, not as a vice president, not as a senator, not as a former prosecutor, but as a potential president of the United States, and show that her proposals, like her economic plans that have been reviewed and are better for the economy, that her proposals are better. And she had to do that in a very short period of time. And as everything else she's done, she's remarkably impressive. She's risen to the challenge and done a phenomenal job.
Tim, what about you? How are you feeling about the Trump campaign?
Well, I agree with my...
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
It's Tim. This is Tim's question.
Okay, thank you. I agree with my esteemed colleague in many areas, but with all that said, it's still a neck and neck race. I do feel that, and by the way, the vice president has been a dear friend of mine for many years and consider me a Republican that supports her, but I have to be very truthful as a consultant and an analyst in that the messaging that Trump is making a difference in some of the key states. However, to offset that, and I think particularly the vice president's appearance in Texas yesterday with Beyonce and other celebrities, is that the message of access to reproductive health care is her strongest bipartisan weapon. This has been shown in many states during the midterms when reproductive health care was on the ballot. I believe overwhelmingly women voters and men voters do not want a situation where government is controlling someone's reproductive rights or access to reproductive health care.
But can you clarify? Can you clarify what you said? Because I'm speaking to you about the Trump campaign. I have to have both voices. So I'm appreciative that you're friends with the Harris campaign, you're friends with the vice president. But speaking as a Republican, how are you feeling about the Trump campaign and the performance 10 days out?
I think the Trump campaign is effectively going at the edges of the battleground independent support, particularly in their communicating to Black men, which has spawned the first ever really fight for the Black male vote. I think the Democrats have fed in to Trump's messaging about Black males not being to a large extent welcome within the Democratic Party. And then the issue of immigration, which affects workers. And I believe that the nomenclature that the Democrats have used, that being undocumented versus illegal, caters to the Trump campaign. And they're using that wedge issue effectively as well.
Jonathan, I want to ask you about Mrs. Obama. Saving the best for last, perhaps? I mean, is this good strategy? Should they have brought her on sooner?
Well, one of the things I've said repeatedly about the Trump campaign is that the Trump campaign is not a campaign as much as it's a church. Donald Trump is running a church, not a campaign. And so the devotion, the way that, pardon?
A lot of people like church.
A lot of people do.
80% of people in this country consider themselves to be Christians, according to Gallup. So what's your analogy here?
I don't just mean a Christian church. I just mean he is running Donald Trump is a religious figure to much of his supporters. They don't question him. They view any questioning of him as an attack, a demonic attack, whatever you want to call it. They don't question his failures. They see people who question his failures as attacking him. It's insane, but I think that what the Harris campaign is doing is, instead of going after that kind of cult-like support that he has. They're just saying, look, we are a big tent party. We are the party of everyone. Michelle Obama, to your question, is here to remind you of a time when our country was not this nasty, not this divided, a time when you looked at the first family and you were proud of them, a person who everybody can kind of see themselves in Michelle Obama.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.